Samasta jana kalyane niratam karunamayam namami chinmayam devam sadgurum brahmavidvaram vasudeva sutam devam kansa chanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagat gurum krishnam vande jagat gurum. So today we do verse 18. Last time we had discussed a little about action in inaction, and this is what this verse really talks about. So I'll read the verse. Karmanya karmaya pashyed akarmani cha karmaya sabuddhim anmanusheshu sayukt. He who recognizes inaction in action and action in inaction is wise among men. He is a yogi and a true performer of all actions. Now see, talking of inactions, he still says that the yogi is a performer of actions, which is to be noted and remembered that, as I have said earlier many times, Geeta does not say that you stop acting. Even when they talk of inaction, even when they talk now, so what is this that he is trying to say? It again sounds like a paradox, very confusing. So it says, he who recognizes inaction in action. Okay. Now, inaction, let us see. What we can say is, you recognize inaction in the action of a fan. The actionlessness of the fan is transported into action, but not by the fan, by electricity. The fan is actionless. Okay. Now, when we recognize that the thing that you see moving is actionless, it has got no action at all in itself. Somebody goes into a free fall from the aeroplane. Okay. Now he is not moving. He is stationary, hanging, just stationary, coming down straight without movement. But in that free fall, there is movement. Okay. Another example, you take a bus. You say, I traveled from Delhi to Lucknow. I gave this example last time actually. I traveled from Delhi to Lucknow. How? Sitting in a bus. Now, how can you travel when you're sitting? But that is inaction in action, isn't it? Okay. Also, now then the wise person is he who translates all this knowledge into his body. Notice the action of your speech. The body is inactive. It does not act. It cannot act. So recognize who is the actor in the actionless body. A person who can see movement in the body, who can see intelligence in the body, who can see speech in the body, they are all acting. But all the time, if his mind can recognize who is acting and who is actionless, he, the scriptures call a wise among men. Because all the rest of the people think that the body is acting, they think the fan is moving, they think the bulb is alight, so all that. Now, so please understand this, again I'll read. He who recognizes inaction in action and action in inaction, they are two different things, is wise among men. He is a yogi. Yogi is the one who is established in the higher. Here, he is not a realized master. He is just a wise man, a wise among men. That means not a realized master. He categorically says here, see, that it is through his grace that all action is taking place. If a man can realize that and act accordingly, if you can recognize that I am not doing, something else is doing through me, using my body, using the equipment of the brain, the body, the tongue, the mouth, the eyes, the nose, the ears, anything at all, your active limbs. If all the time you can be conscious of this, then you are a yogi. That is what he says. Now, when such an action in inaction takes place, it lacks the sense of doership. That means you are conscious that you are not doing. You are very conscious that you are not doing. You are totally aware that it is His grace that is functioning through you when you are acting, then that action does not incur any result. That is why it becomes akarma, he says here. See? Akarma. Karmanya akarma, he says, right? So that is what he says, that does not get any result because it lacks doership. A result of an action can only come when there is a sense of doership. I do, I have done. So even good deeds, the result of punyas, you will get. The result of evil actions, papa, you will get. Self-congratulatory actions, you will get the result. So long as you think that I am the doer. So when the doership is there very firmly, like it is there in all of us, very, very firm. I do, I eat, I drink, I this, I that. There are Mahatmas who do not even use the word I. They talk of themselves in third person, as if they are talking, when they talk about their body, that it is eating, drinking. I think sannyasi says, the Swami will be going, the Swami will come. Huh? Like that. The Swami is eating. The Swami is now going to sleep. They talk like that. So that sense of doership is totally kept away. There is no I in that. Now, also, see, people say that actions, finite actions, if they are noble actions, that it is through actions that you can go to the infinite. Actions are finite. A finite action can never reach you to the infinite. The result is the same as the cause in a different form. So if the action is finite, how can the result be infinite? It cannot. It will have to be finite again. So then why do noble actions? That's the next question every wise person asks. That if that is so, what's the use of doing good actions? The result of good actions is the purity of the mind. The purity of the mind and intellect equipment. When you work for the interest of others, when you work for the benefit of others, it invariably purifies your antahakaran. That is man, buddhi, chitta and ahankar. It lessens your ego if you don't boast about it. And you do it with this sense of non-doership. The doership is totally lacking in that. हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, नेकी कर कुएं में डाल. That means nobody should know that you did it. So then it is, otherwise it will fatten your ego. That is what will happen. So it has a usefulness. Noble actions have the usefulness of purifying the mind of the seeker, and slowly, slowly the mind gets so purified that it enables him to reach the infinite. Actions themselves cannot take you. So no matter how much of social work you do, it's very good. Of course, you should do it. You are helping people. But don't think that just by noble actions. There are many people who say, I am not interested in all this. I just do my duty and I just do very good work. And that is good enough for me. When you are yourself using I do, and that is good enough for me, there is a sense of doership, and it will accrue results. Good results, yes, but it will accrue results. It will not unshackle you from karma bandhan. Karma bandhan you will still get. Okay. Now, again, notice the divinity in creativity. All people whose mind is very actively creating something or is high in activity, their bodies become still. Notice a Buddha in meditation. He is active or inactive? Tell me. There is actionlessness in the body and highly active the mind in meditation. Also, an artist, see Leonardo da Vinci, when he is concentrating on his work, or a musician, take a very big musician, take Mozart, take Tansen, take whosoever, notice that when they are creating music in their minds, composing music, they become totally still. An artist becomes totally still when he is conceptualizing an idea to put on the canvas. Similarly, a writer, when he is thinking deeply of how to express an idea into words, becomes totally still. And notice, even when people say, I've got an idea, when the other people start asking him, what is it? They say, hold on. And he becomes still. See, this is all high activity in inaction. Now, doing this kind of activity, if you recognize that something else is moving through you, that man is a wise man who constantly remembers that the Supreme is acting through him. Gurudev gave the example of his writing. When he's writing, he says, my fingers are moving. Who is moving the fingers? The fingers are dead matter, really. They are bones, flesh, skin. Who gives them the propelling action? And even while you are writing, the mind is formulating ideas. The gray matter has got no power. No power. So if somebody can watch this, if you can perfectly, a perfect action is that in which you recognize inactivity in that action. So it is akartaham, abhoktaham. In Nirvan Shatakam, akartaham, abhoktaham. And that is what is, see, the capacity to observe yourself honestly. And you become a fully grown intelligent human being who can observe this. And that is why he calls him a wise. He calls him a wise man. He gains indescribable poise, and he is a very, very wise man, very stable man, and with no sense of selfishness, no sense of doership, which will also rid him of his stress and sorrow, because he will have no anxiety. I am not the doer. If I'm not the doer, I am not also responsible for the end result of the action. Attachment to the end result of the action will always breed stress and sorrow. Okay, now so here it is. Now come to the next verse. We come. Yasya sarve samarambhaha काम संकल्प वर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्ध कर्माणं तमाहु पंडितं बुधाः. It says, whose undertakings are all devoid of desires and purposes. Aha. The intelligent, educated man says, then he must be a madman. Because if all his undertakings are devoid of desire, devoid of purpose, and whose actions have been burnt by the fire of knowledge, him the wise call a sage. The wise call a sage. So this man can be called a great rishi, can be called a great muni, can be called a great seeker, whose undertakings are all devoid of desires and purposes. When you do not have a desire, well, modern psychology says the body will not move. The Geeta also says the same thing, that the body will not move if you do not have desire, or if you do not have motivation, if you do not have purpose. Now see, there are two kinds of actions. One is done by an ignorant man and the other is done by a wise man. Now, an ignorant man's actions always spring from incompleteness, a sense of incompleteness, that is desire. If I get this, I will be happy. If I can achieve this, I will be happy. And that is, it arises from a sense of me plus this. You want to complete yourself all the time. A wise man's actions do not spring from a sense of incompleteness. His actions are, he has the desire to benefit others. Now, when you have a desire to benefit others, it is not a selfish desire. When you have a desire to do your duty to the best you can, not for yourself, for the good of mankind, then that is not a selfish desire. So when it is not a selfish desire, it lacks the capacity to enslave you. It lacks the capacity to hold your mind captive in anxiety. It lacks the capacity to shackle you into chains. It doesn't. You do it like a joyful game you are playing. You do it that congratulating yourself that the Lord has chosen you for this noble task, and you will try serve him the best to your capacity. That is the desire. The desire is not anxiety prone at all. So you say, oh Lord, play through me. I myself am powerless to do. Empower me to do this. The action is his, not yours. Okay, so that is a wise man's action, and this is an ignorant man's actions. So he says that you must plan. He said, look, and whose actions have been burnt by the fire of knowledge. Fire of knowledge. He says, how does the fire of knowledge destroy an action? The action is destroyed by the fact of non-doership. You have not done it. So when you have not done it, how does it become an action? And therefore it does not get a result. Now, while sleeping on the bed with your spouse, your wife happens to kick you at night. That action is a non-doer action, isn't it? Non-doership action. She doesn't even know that she has kicked you. Physically, she has kicked you. But then do you get up and kick her back? When you get up and you suddenly see that she's fast asleep, then even you understand that that action, she did not do it really. It was done by her body. She has no knowledge of it. And therefore, that action becomes an inaction. And therefore, you do not give the result. That means you do not kick her back. Got it? So that is the thing, that that action becomes a karma and it does not bear a result because the personality is empty from inside. Now, when a wise man acts thinking that the Lord is flowing through him, the Lord's will is flowing through him, he allows action to be done by his body to the best of his capacity, but he himself is not doing. Now, you plan in a detached manner. So then they say, okay, if there is no purpose, no desire, then there should be no planning. Is it? No. You do plan. Nobody says no to planning. Definitely plan. There is a method you employ in activity. That method should completely be done to the T. But you do your planning in a detached manner so that, and be cautious that not to get planned by the plan. Think about it. Generally, the planner gets planned by the plan. He is so taken up by his plan. He is so engrossed in his plan that all his actions, all his thoughts are becoming anxiety prone. He is full of agitation, full of anxiety. And if a hurdle comes in the way, he is full of anger because of the attachment to the plan. So plan, but in an unattached manner, that the mold and the wished for pattern should not begin molding you into a pattern. You should be independent of the pattern, independent of the mold of your actions, right? So that is what he is trying to say over here, that don't allow energy to leak from your mind with worry over unknown possibilities of danger and ruin. We have this great habit of projecting our mind into unknown possibilities. How come that you keep fearing all the time these days, if nothing else? Oh, the world is coming to an end. The pandemic will destroy the whole world. And if it is not the world, then it is China. If it is not China, then it is something else. How do you know that China can conquer the world? Don't you know what happened to Hitler? Don't you know what happened to Napoleon? Don't you know what happened to all the Alexander the Great? You do? Take a lesson from history. Take a lesson from the past. All these expansionists, all these conquerors who thought they will rule the world, what did they achieve in the end? Nothing. Their whole life they have lived in their egoistic cocoon, that I am the doer and I shall do this and I shall do that and I shall do that. And they only destroyed themselves. So also don't allow that to happen, and don't go on with imagined possibilities, projected possibilities of danger and destruction and tragedy. We all imagine that this will happen, that may happen, that may happen. Hmm? And the worst is the family, especially the fathers, imagining the future of the son. Iska kya hoga? Or even the daughter, इनका क्या होगा? ये लोग तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते, इनका ऐसा होगा, इनका वैसा होगा. अरे भाई, आपको क्या पता? आप परमात्मा हैं क्या? आपको मालूम है क्या होगा? You cannot. So to avoid your mind running into these kind of channels, you have to find a very secure foothold, a secure grasp, and that secure grasp is the Lord himself have faith. You are not working, he is working. And if he is working, he has a design. Think of the design of this whole universe, this grand, great universe. It doesn't run on your planning. To the minutest seconds, the planets move across the sky. The sun, the moon, even your own earth. You are not making it move. There is a design and there is a purpose. Even a seed, you do not have the power to germinate a seed. It germinates through some other power inherent in there, put by somebody else, right? Mm. So don't ever take it onto yourself that I am the great grand planner, I am the great grand executor of this action. Surrender it to him. Here, Krishna is giving this discourse to Arjuna, but through Arjuna, he is really talking to us. He is talking to people like you and me, that this is the wise way of doing action. So this is actually nothing else but telling you how intelligently you should be doing the action. Now, after this description of the perfect man of wisdom, we come to the next verse. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashrayah कर्मण्यभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः त्यक्त्वा कर्मफल sangam. So now just see, it is when you say tyaktva means give up. Here I'll read the translation first. Having abandoned attachment to the fruits of action, ever content, depending on nothing. He does not do anything though engaged in action. This is important. See, his actions become akarma. When he says that he does not do anything though engaged in action. Again, a contradiction. We have told you before that the action is taking place. But when you understand that the body, mind, intellect, speech is not the actor, they are actionless. And that has to be understood. He does not do it. The person who understands that, he, even though he is engaged in action, does not act. Now here see, having abandoned attachment to the fruits of action. This verse is generally misunderstood when they say tyaktva karma phala sangha. They say tyaktva karma phala. It is not that you give up karma phala. Phal you will get whether you like it or not. Understand that. Good or bad phala you will get according to your action. Exact and equal opposite to your action. You have that scientific theory, haven't you? That action and reaction are equal and opposite. In exact measure, they are equal and opposite. So it will have a reaction. It will have a karma phala. So nobody can tyaktva karma phala. It does not say ke give up karma phala. Here, the Marxists and communists say the Geeta is a dangerous book because it snatches the fruit of the labor from the laborer. It is not snatching the fruit. Even if it wants to, it cannot. It is snatching, it is asking you to give up karma phala sangam. The word sangam means attachment. Attachment to the karma phala. Because if you are attached to the karma phala, you are going to be miserable. Miserable. Because the karma phala will not come according to what you have desired. It can come anyhow. It is a huge computer. And the karma phala, the reaction of your action, is dependent on many, many things. It is dependent on other people's actions also. Your action is not alone. It does not stand alone. It is connected to other people. Now, at this time, this recording is taking place. Okay? I am doing the action. Action is dependent on what? Many, many things. The laptop, the Wi-Fi, the light, right? It is also dependent on the person recording. It is dependent on me giving the recording, isn't it? Now, any one of these things is not in my control. Anything can go wrong anywhere. If he wants that the talk should go on, believe me, nothing will go wrong. It will continue. So don't think that you are in charge of everything and that you can take care of everything. You cannot. So take care to the best of your capabilities, but don't get attached to it. Sangha, this word Sangha has come so many times in the Gita. Many, many times in the Gita. Never said do action. It always says perform action perfectly, but it usi ke saath, immediately it says that do not get attached to action. It says do not get attached to action. So here it is saying again, I'll read it. Having abandoned attachment to the fruits of action and ever content. Ever content. Notice the word ever. Nitya tripto, it says. Nitya means every day, always. So nitya tripto nirashraya. ठीक है ना? नित्य तृप्तो निराश्रय. It says कर्मण्य भी प्रवृत्तोपि नैव किंचित करोति यह. Now it says here, see, the whole ocean is there. The wave depends on the ocean, or that the ocean depends on the wave? Tell me, what depends on what? The wave is not independent of the ocean. The entire water in the ocean creates the wave. Right? Now, having abandoned attachment to the fruits of action, ever content, depending on nothing. This is important. Nirashraya. Nirashraya. Nirashraya, you take the ashraya of other things to be happy. You always have some one thing on which you are dependent to be happy. So that is your ashraya. Here he says be nirashraya, because that thing can let you down, as normally it does. Normally, when you have a hope that this one will help me, that is the person who lets you down, isn't it? Things let you down, circumstances let you down, natural happenings let you down. So many activities happening in the world can let you down. Do not depend on anything. Just depend on him and do your best. Otherwise, if you have phala sangha and attachment, then definitely anxiety belongs to you. The shackling of the mind belongs to you. And all that, is going to be very, very tough on you. You are not the planner of this world. You don't even know from where you have come. You don't even know where you are going. And let me tell you, neither do you know where you are. Yes. There are 3 levels of consciousness: the waker, the dreamer, the deep sleeper. Does the dreamer know where he is? No. Does the deep sleeper know where he is? No. And similarly, the waker also does not know where he is. Believe me. Does he know how soon he can slip into unconsciousness? Then where is he? He imagines this world, the whole world disappears when you faint. So where is he? He is in the world, in the material world, but yet he is not there. Now, when you go into that kind of thing, then physics becomes an operational science. And if it is the science of illusion, then is it a science at all? Think about it. Think about it very deeply. What are you researching? Everything is impermanent, and that is the reason they go on changing the results of researches. 3 years back, they research and give you a result and say, this is this, this is this, this is a law. After 2, 3 years, that same law they turn upside down and they say, no, 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 that is not good enough. That was wrong, and now this is supposed to be good. Coconut oil, supposed to be very bad for your heart. It will clog your arteries that go to the heart, and you will get a heart attack. Now, that same coconut oil is being bought by loads, by kilos, by liters, by people around the world, that it's very good for you. You must drink virgin coconut oil, pure coconut oil. Now, what is this? Changing yourself in a changing world, changing your opinions, changing situations, changing methods of curing, changing, everything you go on changing. So when you do not have any definitive hold on your status, how can you calculate the whole world where you relate the world to yourself, isn't it? You keep relating the world to yourself, whereas you are perfectly independent of the world. If you do not attach to anything, the world will change. If you are not attached, you can remain stationed in your true self. You can be absolutely quiet, absolutely peaceful, absolutely content and blissful if you do not attach to this, that, and that. The moment you attach, you are asking for trouble. And how can you want what belongs to another? In the entire world, the things don't belong to you. You create an illusion of ownership. Yes, you do. You were not born with a single thing. You collected, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Some of it through inheritance, some of it through legality, some of it through snatching from others, some of it earning rightfully. But you accrued it all from this given universe by the Lord. And the given universe goes on changing. So if you align yourself with this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, you are going to be unhappy, because that will very quickly change. And when it changes, or it will leave you, or it will kick you, or it will start giving you sorrow, isn't it? Isn't that your experience through life? So when these kind of things happen, then it is that the best is asanga, contentment, and asanga, and secure hold on the perfect reality. But the hasty pundits, as Gurudev calls them, they try to monopolize and misinterpret this verse. And when they misinterpret this verse, we have a whole nation of people who do not want to work. They are not hands-on. They think the greatest nobility does not work. There are even songs that say The girl should be married in such a house, palang beti raj kare. What is that? How wretched. Every human being is made to work. And the Gita recognizes that right from the second chapter, where Krishna starts giving his discourse. He says, get up and do your duty. He wants Arjun to get out of his lethargy. So nowhere does it say, don't plan. Nowhere does it say, don't work. Don't misinterpret this work, having said, having abandoned the fruit of action, having abandoned activity. No, it doesn't. It says, having abandoned attachment to the fruit. Huh? Karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashraya. Don't depend on the changing world, because it will change and your action also will change. So depending on nothing at all, you should not be a beggar from other people. You should not be a beggar from the outside world for the completion of your action. You do your best and surrender it to that superpower who alone is capable of granting anything to you. Nobody else and nothing else can grant the fulfillment of your desires. So don't even start calculating from me and mine, because that is all false. It is an illusion. How long were, leave aside mine, how long was the person to whom that mine belongs there? When were you born? And when are you going? Do you know? All the things that you call yours, including your family, your spouse, your children, your everything, you call them yours. You will be gone, they will still be there. So what is me and mine? Knowing that, be content, engage in activity, do everything, but surrendering to the Lord. That action will become in action, like the steam in an engine is acting. The hard black engine made of iron is inactive. Recognize that. So he does not, if there is no doership, he does no action. And that is the only way of liberating yourself from action and being happy. Next time we will do the next verse. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.